coming into presence in yourself, your own body, and also with me, seeing me here on the screen, is tuning into my frequency, my essence. I am here to share with you today a Dragon Mother transmission that is going to be the gateway into the rest of the school, the Dragon Mother Intuition School. So welcome and through the gate into this space that I am creating, that I am forming. Whether you stay for a while or are just here for this initial transmission, I am honored that you took the time out of your day, out of your life, to join me, to engage with my teachings and what I have to share. So, with that said, let's get into it. This gateway class in the Dragon Mother School is all about being in your own energy field. That would be, what we hear of as embodiment. Embodying your power, your presence. It's existing in your frequency and taking up space inside of you. And the reason that we are opening with this skill is because as a highly sensitive and intuitive being, you more than likely have lived most of your life being a receptacle for a lot of, pretty much everything around you to come in. And so we're here wanting to refine our filter, to refine the filter so that we are processing out on the outskirts of our field, processing out what is not needing to take our energy or our focus early enough to where it doesn't get deeper into our field, into that more inner world. So we can use an example of our body, our physical body, and the skin being able to filter out certain particles from getting into the body so that your body then doesn't have to deal with processing, things like dust, insects even, let's say. It's kind of strange. But, our skin provides this barrier so that it's not letting these larger particles in unless we are, consciously taking the action to put things in our mouth. And so we can do this with our energy body as well, where we'll say the bigger particles would be the things that aren't ours to process. They're other people's emotions, other people's thought processes, other people's worries. Things that maybe we have already gone through that we're just don't need to be going through again. This can even be with those that you care about and love, like your kids, your partner, people in your community, friends, where as highly intuitive beings, we can quite easily let all of that in and process it for them. But in this way of attuning to our gifts in a way that is bringing through very like high level skills and abilities for the progress of the earth, it's not serving anyone to take on what doesn't need to be processed through us and letting that be, processed, dealt with by whoever it is, so that you can have more capacity and energy for the things that really matter to the greater functioning of the whole. So let's take your children, for example. I used to pick up strongly every little thing that they were feeling. So if they got sick, I would get sick too. If they were, having a symptom because they were worrying about something, I would be feeling that symptom too. Heck, even if they got an injury, I would feel that as well. And that can be helpful in being able to know what's happening in them. But it also was really draining. I wasn't able to keep up. It exhausted me to have every little thing that they were going through come into my field and then me having to process that rather than just knowing what they were going through, but keeping it on that more surface level and being able to quickly then just, take action if I needed to take action to help them or let them have their own process. So I can still pick up when I need to what's going on with them. If they are feeling sick, I can tune in real quick to what's going on with them, but keep it in this outside field and then have the information I need to be able to know what herbs they need, for instance. But almost give it back to them. Have strong boundaries. That's what it is. It's having strong boundaries. Having strong boundaries, like your skin, so that you are not having to take on too much. And this is really important for highly intuitive people to learn how to create strong outer filters so that you don't have to, so it's not coming in deeper and you have to spend all this time filtering, processing to get it back out. Yes, we are designed to take on some of the collective traumas, some of the collective old patterns, some of our ancestral patterns to transmute these old energies. Our systems are capable of that. We're skilled at that. And we can still do that. But when it gets to be this over and over again looping of processing the same stuff over and over again, that is not the best use of our system. That's not the best use of our energy. So that's when we then know that there's something that needs to be a boundary that needs to be reestablished. a more effective filter set up so that you prevent these, we're going to call them larger particles, from coming through that just have a better place. There's a better place for them. Because sometimes other people need to be learning their lesson and doing the processing, not you. So, as a healer, this is important as well because you are working with clients who are bringing to you their challenges, their struggles, their like denser, energies. And you need to be able to, as a healer, to be a successful and capable healer, you need to be able to not take into you your client's responsibilities. And so this can come into some metaphorical ways of like the mirror, reflecting back to them, the skin. And we don't need to be that, the soil void space composting everything. We get to also build our own lives and become our, structured selves and don't have to constantly be breaking everything down because so much is coming into us. That's that processing. It's the, digesting things. So this is the hypervigilance that many of us have lived in, where we're hyper aware of what's happening around us. It is a trauma response and also a conditioned mechanism, way that our systems function, because, if you did have some traumatic experiences, especially when you were younger, maybe sexual abuse, maybe an accident or something like that, then we become hyper aware of every little thing that's going on. Maybe you lived in a house, grew up in a household that was very violent or unsafe. And so you became hypervigilant. And this happens a lot to sensitive beings. People with not as sensitive nervous systems can grow up in a very similar environment, such as maybe a household where their parents argued all their time and there was fighting. But those that have a different kind of system that's not as sensitive, they may not develop the hypervigilance. They might develop more of just the dulled down, like, fuck everything kind of attitude, which sounds great to us hypervigilant people. Whereas those with very sensitive systems, because we have so much, we're so open and have so much information coming into us from multiple different dimensions. So a lot of like invisible energies coming into us. We then become like that hypervigilant because our systems during those times of the trauma, the chaos, the stress, it was all coming in and activated our systems. Activated. It's like that extra stimulation you can think of. When you are sensitive, you sense more. You sense a lot more than your average human being. This is changing over time, where more and more, children are being born with these more sensitive systems. But those of us at our age still are, you know, in our own unique category where not everyone is sensing as much as we are. And that's important to remind ourselves so that we can have understanding and compassion when it seems like things aren't affecting others in as extreme of a way as it is us. It's because we're literally having more information infiltrating our system on a like all the time regular basis. Um so we develop this hypervigilance. Yeah. Where we were already, hyper aware because of our sensitivity, but it becomes the filter that is created. You can think of the filter as like the structure to process the information. The information is the sensations. Because if you're filtering water, think of like a coffee filter, for instance. It's like that structure that allows the water to go through, but the like grounds or whatever to stay in. So the filter itself is the structure that's letting like the substances be separated, be directed where they need to go. So in our development, in our childhood, early adults, really our whole life, but the developmental process is different as we get older and mature. So we're, when we're younger, we're creating these filters very much from our learned environment, is like conditioning the filter to be structured in a particular way that then later on we usually have to break it apart and create a new filter. And that's what we are here to do. To begin to do in this class is creating a new filter. And this class specifically is more going to be clearing out what has like accumulated that is not allowing us to be able to create a new filter. So we're not at the creating a new filter part yet. We're at today we're going to really go into working with Calendula to draw out and drain out what is prohibiting the breaking down of the filter. So to be in your own energy field, what does that feel like? Really taking up space. This isn't just about, walking into a room and your external presence projecting outwards and filling up the room, taking up space. Right now, what we are focusing on today is this taking up space just in yourself. And starting to recognize how often you are not taking up space inside of yourself. How often you are disassociated, shrinking down, escaping. That's that self-abandonment, escaping. You can tell when the consciousness of you is not fully taking up space in your body. It's retreating back into, who knows where, all these different places. All these different places that over time, especially in childhood, you're the fragmented, and parts of your consciousness were like put into different like boxes, containers, compartmentalize. So the fractured parts of you compartmentalize. And so taking up space, existing in your frequency, is opening those boxes of those forgotten parts of yourself, pushed away parts of yourself, and integrating them back into your full presence. But to fully take up space, if there are, those bigger particles that got in that aren't parts of you, so these are maybe stories that others told you that, maybe made you feel bad about yourself or gave you a different, perception of you or the world. This can even be things that we learned in school, in, history class or something, that it's like all the textbooks, the history books are written by white men. So it's, the colonizers. And so it's very distorted and skewed. So these, living inside of us still. This is what these big particles are. It can be literal toxins, actual like artificial chemicals from food you've eaten over your lifetime, or pollutants you've been exposed to. These are those particles I'm speaking of as well, that are taking up space, so it prevents you from fully taking up space in your life. Now, we're always going to have to be in a reciprocal exchange with our environment and with, the things that we've been through and learned. We're not just trying to push everything out and, just be in that over focus of eliminating everything, that purity mindset of like needing to purge everything, to where it can get to be even a mental condition that still disallows you from fully taking up space, because you're too focused on, it's like that victim mentality of things out to get you and having to overprotect yourself. But we do want to at least, remove, clear out the things that, maybe we just don't need anymore. Okay? It's just like cleaning out your closet. If you never clean out your closet, it's just going to accumulate, and then eventually you can't even use your closet because it's too stuffed with things. You can't put the new things that you are really excited about in the closet. You can't even find that, shirt you've had for 10 years that you love so much and want to wear. So with the calendula, we're going to be like cleaning out our closet on the inside, so that we can chill out this hypervigilance and allow our sensitivity to really work for us, to allow our sensitivity to be our superpower rather than what is draining us. So you can think of the cleaning out your closet, it's really like moving out old information. This is what calendula is going to really do for us, is move out old information, like old data that is just not, it's clogging up the system. And is the the reason that we get into that mode of overcompensating. overgiving, having to, track everything to a unhealthy extent. So tracking is the term I use for reading energy. So like reading the invisible, tracking. You're tracking your environment. You're reading the subtle cues. You're sensing how everyone in the room is feeling. But when you're on guard, when you're in this hypervigilance state, and you have this kind of like buildup of old information, it's not allowing you to efficiently and even truthfully process what you're receiving, what you're tracking through your environment. It's like the filter is not working properly because there is outdated particles that are prohibiting the clear transference of current information. That's that, filtering things through your old stories, the old traumas. And there's a time when we need to open up, analyze, process, restory things, look at our wounds, look at our patterns, learn the lessons. And so we're like opening the book to read the book and learn. And then there's a time where we realize that that's a loop. That is a lesson you've already learned, and you get to choose if you need to overprocess it or if you can close that book and burn it in the fire or donate it to the thrift store, as a metaphor. And so we are living in a time frame now, those of us who are here and are the ones who have been doing this pattern work, healing work for years and years and years. We are at a place now where it's time for us to close those books, those healing loops, and be like, I'm done with that. And so Calendula is helping us with that too. Remember, it's the old data, the old information. And at some point, you do have to get rid of that, remove it, so that you can have space for new information to come through. And with what we're talking about today, your original information. The parts of your original self, your original essence. I feel like I could keep going in that, but I feel like we all have a grasp on our hypersensitivity, our, how in our life we have just taken it all in without having a properly built filter because we weren't taught how to do that. And so we could really benefit from this clearing of the old information. This is inflammation as well, like in a physical, because everything's connected. So physically, this is like inflammation. Things that are festering. So even if it's not like physically festering, this is like when you are in those states of just like festering over things. What's the other word I want to use for that? Like when you're ruminating, letting things fester, get worse than they needed to. That's that overthinking, over worrying. These are the things we're letting calendula help us with. So that we can take up more space with our original essence and also new codes coming in. Doesn't that sound lovely? The new codes that will bring to each of us the, just unique information that we're here to plant seeds and ground in. Oh, so today's not really the boundary work. Today is the letting go. It's the removal. It's the draining of the pus of the wound. And we're talking about calendula, and calendula is a wound healing herb. It's a very powerful wound healing herb, and this is for wounds of the skin, also internally in the body. And these are also those deep wounds of our psyche, those deep wounds that have caused the fractures of our soul because of the hurt, how others have hurt us in our lifetime. Calendula is a good herb to reestablish a healthy sense of vulnerability so that we can be soft and vulnerable without exposing ourselves to being hurt again. Calendula helps us clear out the old data so we can start fresh in ourselves. All right, calendula is an amazing herb. I'm going to be going a little more into calendula now. I have some calendula tea I've been drinking all day, preparing myself for this talk. I have it here. Isn't it lovely? These were dry calendula petals. It's early spring here, so I don't have fresh calendula to harvest yet. I'm going to be planting seeds maybe today after this. I'm going to pour myself this calendula tea. Calendula is great as an infusion. So this is a calendula infusion where I just put the petals in, put some hot water on it, let it steep, and then I'm drinking it as a tea. It is a little bitter. Calendula, the energetics of it is a bitter flavor. Let me get this other. There we go. And a bit pungent. I am very, very used to drinking a lot of different herbs to where my taste buds really enjoy flavors that others might not find palatable. So I'm just drinking this calendula tea straight up and really loving it. You might need a little sweetener in it or make a weaker tea, not so strong. But that bitter, pungent taste in any kind of herb stimulates. It gets things moving. It gets things progressing. It's like stimulating stagnation. Calendula is warming. It's slightly warming, and it's also drying. So energetically, that's what calendula is doing. Warming and drying. And so this is great for inflammation. Warming and drying things up. Inflammation is like wet heat. And it's great for tissue states that are in like atrophy, depression, stagnancy. So you can just kind of get a feel into these states of our tissues. In herbalism, these are words to describe the energetics of the tissue state. And so this more depressed atrophy, stagnation, you can think of just what that feels like in your body. It's like when you're depressed, what happens? It's hard to move, isn't it? It's hard to get up, take action, do things. So you can think of that happening in your body, in the tissues of your body, where it's like your tissues are kind of at this stagnancy, and something's almost like pressing on them, that pressure almost, and it's hard to get moving, hard to get going, hard to make progress. Calendula is amazing for so many different things. A lot of herbs are, at least my favorite herbs are great for so many different things. Calendula works on the lymphatic system. It works with the digestion and liver and all, antibacterial, antifungal, um, anti-inflammatory. It's astringent, and so that's that drying. It's like drying excess moisture, and so it's more of a constricting herb. Its action has a little bit more of a constricting quality. And when I feel into calendula and what it's doing, is it's almost like it is luring things out. So with some other lymphatic herbs, such as like chickweed, violet, those are they're wet, they're moist herbs energetically, and they're actually helping to like break down and move out the lymphatic system. Calendula is almost like it is. So think of a clump of mud that then the sun dries out and it like breaks apart, and then it's just in all the sediment. So calendula is kind of doing that, so then it can remove it from the system, drying things out. It's got a lot of sun quality. Calendula is a yellow orange flower. It's very resinous. It's very like sticky, has a lot of resins in it. Resins are drawing. Resins help to draw things out of the body. They almost have this kind of like magnetic quality even to them. It's like that stickiness. Think of if you are touching like pine sap and it like sticks, makes things then stick. So calendula has a lot of resins. If you touch the flowers a lot, if you're harvesting flowers, you'll notice you'll have like a stickiness on your fingers. It's really great for bringing out eruptive diseases. So measles, chickenpox, wounds that need to like erupt. So that would be like that pus and stuff needing to erupt. So we can think of this quality, this like eruptive quality. It's helping to like dry them up, dry it up. And so when things can be dried up that are too wet, too moist, creating that kind of like festering, that festering infection. When things can then dry up, it allows that, it's almost like it dries up the liquid, the moisture provides an environment for a lot of these like pathogens to be able to thrive. Yeah. So I'm getting a lot of emotional stuff if we flip it into more of like the energetics and what calendula is helping us with in kind of like drying out this old like emotional stories that we hold on to and live in. You can like emotional baggage. drying that up to help to actually move it out of the body instead of this watery emotional place that just kind of allows it to um, grow and proliferate. But we don't always want things to grow and proliferate. We, when there's too much accumulation, when there's blockages, we want things to um, disintegrate and dissipate and be able to move out. You can also add the petals to soups and broths. It's really great in antioxidants, and adds color to your soups and broths. What else do I want to bring in for this? So just in general, calendula is a great wound healer. I mean, you can make an infusion of calendula and use it as a wound wash or a skin wash. Like if you have any kind of like skin rash, it's not the best for like things that are already dried out, like dry skin, but it still can help to like cleanse the skin, but especially skin stuff where there is like even with deep wounds you can use it as a wash to clean out a wound, because it is antibacterial, antifungal. So in that way, calendula is amazing for skin conditions, wounds. It's good for fevers. There's a lot of things that are good for fevers, but you can drink a hot infusion to, bring a fever to completion, not suppress it. It's helping the fever kind of like rise a bit. And so these things can help you kind of get a sense of the energetics of calendula. Because really, when you're working with plants, you can memorize all this stuff, but it's not until you get to know an herb in the way of communicating with it through that sensation, through that feeling, through the energetic imprint, the vibration of what that plant is, that you have this mastery of being able to place like what herb would be good for what state without having to go into too much of the like intellectual thinking about it. Good at clearing sinuses and digestive infections, stimulating the immune system, and for trauma. So again, this can be like wound trauma, or it can be more psychological trauma that calendula helps to cleanse, like just cleanse your, cleanse those particles out. The lymphatic system is really what I use calendula a lot for, especially when there's swollen nodes. To move, this is really like moving stagnant lymph material, moving it out. And so this is where we're getting into the cleaning up the closet, cleaning out the old information that has accumulated. And really, y'all, this is from childhood. What calendula is wanting to specifically help each of us with is cleaning up the debris, the rubble from our childhood. And these are going to be the things that you've already done some sort of healing work around, because it's broken things down but it's still kind of like not fully cleared out. So the calendula wants to help us with that. So the best way for you to work with calendula in the, cleaning out the old information so that we can then really be in this process of taking up space in our bodies, creating a new filter and boundaries, is going to be either in a tea form. I'm going to give you multiple ways. In a tea form, so if you want to get some calendula, dried calendula, and make a tea, you can do this. You can do a whole, um, month-long moon cycle dieta where you're with calendula every day for a month. So you can drink a little bit of tea every day. You could do it once a week. Even you might want to drink like a larger amount once a week for 4 weeks if you're going to do it that way. You can also work with calendula in the homeopathic potency. And this is something that I do create. So if you want to purchase that from me, let me know. And so this would be working with calendula in this highly spiritual way, where the intelligence of the calendula is going to be entering into your own energetic system and helping you to locate those particles, that old information, and removing it from your body. And so this is really working with it on that like spiritual energetic level. And in that way, you could take the calendula daily, even multiple times a day for the moon cycle. This is really this. Our Dragon Mother Intuition School is designed to go deep into a either like a process, a transformational process, or developing a skill set within a moon cycle. It's that 29 days moon cycle. Okay. And so we're working on lessening the hypervigilance that keeps us in the activated, overstimulated state where it causes confusion and exhaustion, to where then we cannot function in our gifts because we are not able to clearly receive the information, the sensations that are available for us. So it's this old information that we're holding on to that then causes the hypervigilance. So that's different than just being aware, of being aware of the energies around us and then being able to respond. The hypervigilance is when things are getting into the deeper layers where they don't need to be before determining what our response needs to be. Is it something we need to take into us and process, or is it something that would just waste our energy and we need to keep it on the outer layers, on the surface level? So that hypervigilance is when our the old stories, the old traumas, the old conditioning from childhood is taking up space, active inside of us, so that we don't have that, filter that is letting us clearly discern and interpret what's around us. And so it's too activated of a state. And so we're clearing out that old information so we can start to take up more space in our body with our own original energy. And Calendula has this intelligence of knowing this tension and constriction, allowing then relaxation, of knowing what needs to be removed. So if you get the homeopathic calendula, or if you decide instead to drink the tea, you could do both as well. It's great to keep a journal of your process of this transformational cycle so that you can understand what calendula, what the intelligence of this plant is doing for you. So don't just take my word for it. Take what I shared as inspiration, as motivation, and work with the plant yourself and take notes. Take notes of what you notice. Have conversations with calendula, while you're drinking the tea or after you take a dose of the medicine. Be curious. Allow yourself some space to listen, to observe, to be aware of the changes that occur in your body and also the external world. Because, you could notice things shift outside of you. All right, I'm going to leave it there. But before we go, I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to feel the tops of your thighs. And almost like there are these threads coming out of your thighs to tie you down to the earth. Connecting you to the lower parts of yourself, your legs, connecting your legs to the earth realm. Knowing that you are safe, you are supported, and you are nurtured. You have all these pathways, all these channels connecting you to earth. You just need to clean some of them out. Some of them are just a little too filled up with old stuff that's preventing that connection of energetic exchange between you and the earth. So with your thighs, I was just wanting you to feel this safety in the tops of your legs. Knowing that you are safe and held. Okay, y'all enjoy Calendula, and I will see you next month. But also feel free in the members portal. You can ask questions. You can have conversation, share reflections, so we can keep in touch in that way.